Meal times can be very special, and to incorporate it into a childcare center, very educational, if you want to view it that way, as far as the social emotional aspects of eating together and sharing. So that, to me, it just makes me happy when I walk in and out of rooms and see this amazing event occurring every day, 2 to 3 times a day. It's really fun.
Feeding children is one of the critical responsibilities that childcare centers have every day. Unfortunately, many centers lack the kitchen space, equipment, and trained staffing to provide healthy scratch-cooked meals. Essential Kitchen prepares and delivers healthy and nutritious meals made with local food to childcare centers. They can help centers streamline meal preparation and provide quality food to children without the stress of on-site meal prep. Central Community Kitchens benefit childcare centers by eliminating the need for menu planning, shopping, and cooking. The administrative burden associated with the Child and Adult Care Food Program is also significantly reduced, as much of the planning and record keeping resides with the Central Kitchen. A child care center simply needs to provide the daily head count to the Central Kitchen and note any dietary restrictions, and nutritious meals will be delivered to the center to feed their children.
The meal service program that we started over 2 decades ago envisions a really new way to bring healthy food to child care programs and to young children. We do that in Durham, Orange, and Wake counties, and we prepare meals in our central kitchens that are healthy, CACFP compliant, and we use as much local food as we possibly can.
I think it's just a more professional kind of atmosphere in the kitchen, that this is not somebody who came here to just throw a tray of chicken nuggets in the oven and pass it out to kids. They really are intentional and professional about what they're serving, how they're serving it. There's much more pride in the work, so that has made it so much nicer on the receiving end.
I found that the variety was good, it's tasty, very diverse, and this way our kids would be introduced to all, different types of foods, and maybe so that it could, help with their palate and also to educate our parents.
It started out as a group of child care directors came to the agency and said they were having problems, with meal service or with parents bringing food, and they wanted to know if the agency could recommend an alternative. And Sue Russell, who was the president at that time, said, well, maybe we can do it. And they found a church kitchen, and they hired a cook, and they started serving, a few centers out of a church kitchen, and it's been going ever since.
The atmosphere that we work in now, where we feed young children and not only help them, but their teachers, and hopefully something that's going home to their families as well. I feel like we've always accomplished something at the end of the day.
For procurement, we do utilize several purveyors that provide access to locally sourced produce. We source directly from some farms. Lion Farms is a big one in Durham and Orange County, as well as farms through the Carborough Farmers Market. We get some farms that deliver directly to us, collards, broccoli, cabbages, that sort of thing, and also fresh pasture-raised ground beef that we use.
Relying on quality ingredients makes the product you're serving a lot better, and I think it probably presents what we do in the best light possible to especially young children. We want them to be able to see what the food actually is, to see what an actual potato looks like, or a sweet potato, instead of kind of giving them what often is considered kids' food.
The food is so much better in terms of what they're looking for, in terms of collaborating with local providers for produce and those kinds of things, what they're doing with seasonal kinds of things. They share recipes, they send information home to parents. There's just a lot more around food and nutrition that is happening than we ever did when we were just kind of throwing in the frozen waffles.
And also, being a Head Start, early Head Start program, parents are not supposed to bring in any food, so it's our job to figure out how to feed that child in the way they need to be fed. And CCSA really helps with that.
The menus are done monthly, and we try to pay a lot of attention to seasonality, in particular in North Carolina. So we will change some things throughout the year to focus on that, and in particular to focus on local items. We will balance out our menus each week. A typical week will include lunches that are 2 vegetarian days, a poultry, a beef, and a seafood day.
I think one of the things that makes it really easy is the food comes prepared, and then it's just dished out. We do, like I mentioned before, family style dining. So the food is brought in bowls. It's measured so they know approximately how much each child should have.
So that's made it easier too, because sometimes it's a little hard if you're not in the business of food service, that you've got to calculate, figure out how much you need per child and the serving that it's going to be. They take all of that out. That's guesswork out for us. We don't have to do that anymore.
CCSA's Meal Service provides center directors and teachers with basically the gift of time. If a center previously was shopping for and planning and preparing their own meals, a lot of that time is freed up so that they can focus on teaching and dealing with children throughout the day. And hopefully we're just providing something that is going to enrich their day and make it a little bit easier. We also provide them with a lot of things that are going to make them compliant for CACFP and for their meal pattern requirements. They're going to receive paperwork every day. If they ever need any kind of backup recipes or anything like that, we also have that available. So overall, we tend to take away from them a lot of the burden of serving meals every day. They know they're going to show up. They know what's going to be ready to serve. They're going to have any kind of special needs attended to, and they can focus on their children.
And one of the other things that is really great about what CCSA does is they will take into consideration if a child has an allergy or needs a food modification.
That made it much easier for us too, because of course when we were doing it, we're doing it in bulk. Now we have to figure out, what we have to substitute. We don't have to do that anymore. They've taken that out, and they make sure that our kids with allergies get a separate meal comparable to what they're serving our other children.
They are able and willing to accommodate whatever our families come in with. And we have, religious differences here, and we have personal preferences, and we have allergies, and we have suspected allergies.
And that is huge because it makes food safe for children, and he has managed to modify in some really significant ways.
When we do the special diets, one thing that we've heard from the centers that's important is that the kids getting a special diet have something that looks similar to what everybody else is getting. They don't want to be the odd guy out with something different. For the most part, we can make what looks and hopefully tastes pretty close to the original, and they appreciate that it makes it that much easier for them serving when they don't have one child that's sitting there with a sandwich where everybody else is eating something else. So
our benefit is that we get a diverse menu, we get diverse foods. It's healthy. We also participate in CACFP, and so those guidelines we know are going to be met. So we're not worried now, whereas before, we're having to make sure, we got to make sure all the detail, but they take that piece out for us. And so it's awesome now on this end to know that we're in compliance with where we need to be, and it's good. Actually, it's great. We like the food. Our kids like the food. It's great.
Childcare Services meets or exceeds all the USDA and Child and Adult Care Food Program requirements for childcare. Centers that receive our meals know that they're receiving all of the meal components and the adequate amounts to feed their children and in their age groups, and age-appropriate foods as well. We've adapted over the years to the new meal standards, and actually we were kind of ahead of the bar on a lot of these things and incorporating whole grains into our menus. We serve more and more fresh fruits and vegetables per day, and we've always cooked from scratch. So we have our recipes that are CACFP compliant and look to improve them all the time.
CACFP paperwork and documentation has been really reduced for us, because all of the quantities and receipts and documentation for how much food is purchased and what's served and all of those numbers and details that you have to provide for that program, it's all taken care of, and they just turn it into us and we put it into our paperwork and that goes off. So it really has made it much more streamlined and not keeping track of it all ourselves and doing the food orders and all of those things. We don't have to do any of that anymore.
One of the huge benefits is that we don't have to order the food. We don't have to make sure it's meeting the needs of the CACFP program, and those are really big benefits.
They make sure that they calculate the numbers. They're the people who are in contact with them, and now they make sure we're on time with our trainings. Where before, I had to look up the trainings, make sure that we're in the trainings. They've taken that piece out too.
I know one of the difficulties for individual centers providing their own meals is the shopping and the preparing and sourcing of foods. So having a centralized kitchen, we can purchase in bulk, negotiate better prices because of the volumes that we use, and have a greater variety of access to a greater variety of products than an individual kitchen might. So that way we can keep our prices, well within the Child and Adult Care Food Program's reimbursement rate, but still provide a really high quality product for the centers.
I'm not totally familiar with costs, but from my previous experience, it's a little bit less costly to work through Child Care Services Association also than trying to run your own kitchen, especially if you don't already have an industrial kitchen. It allows nutritious food to be served at a reasonable cost.
I think that another center should really try to, especially if you're having a hard time menu planning, making sure that it's diverse, getting out parent information. They take over that. It takes over that piece. I say try it. I don't think you would be disappointed as a site to try them.
While CCSA has focused the efforts on in the Triangle because that's where we're located, we are also very much committed to looking at bringing the same type of model into more rural areas and trying to conquer the obstacles that seem to have held that back sometime. We found that when we have partners that are interested in making that work, and that's the key ingredient in expanding to areas like that.
I think this model definitely could work just about anywhere if you've got enough interest from centers in an area for quality food brought to their door, plus you have some place to send it out from. So yeah, I think it would be great to see this happening more places across the state.